All right, friends, you're welcome. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, whichever continent you are. Okay, I'm going to speak from the heart today. First of all, I want to. After this video, I'm going to react to Peter Obi's um, media conference today, the broadcast he did to start his campaign. I'm going to, after this video, please watch out. I'm going to drop a reaction to that broadcast today. But on this particular video, there are this video is what I notice specifically in terms of managing Peter Obi's candidacy. But my full reaction is going to come next in my next video. Okay, I'm going to drop my reactions in the next video. But this particular video, I'm going to specifically concentrate on his candidacy as the president, seeking for the office of the presidency. Now, I have a couple of questions that I need to ask, because there are certain things I noticed in that broadcast today that weren't supposed to be. I've gone through some of the clips I've seen on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, just to get a feeling of what everybody is thinking about and to see the line of argument. And from what I'm seeing, mostly what I'm seeing is that everybody is being positive, which is nice, about seeing him kickstarting his campaign, seeing him granting and making a broadcast to challenging Tinubu on what he should do or what are the expectations. All those things are positive. But in fact, there are a lot of positive in that broadcast. But there are certain areas everybody ignored. Everybody just ignored that particular area. I'm going to concentrate on the negative. The negative, when I say negative, does not mean whatever the content of the broadcast is wrong. No. As I'm trying to say, his broadcast, whatever the content of it was, all good. I listened to the broadcast, and I wrote certain things down that I'm going to react. Those are positive. What intended, how he's going to run his campaign, what he intended to do for the nations, how he's going to be, and then he challenged the opposition parties, and he challenged Tinubu on his presidency, on his re-election, what he's expected to do. So those are positive. But I'm going to concentrate on the negative, something that most of everybody ignored. And I'm going to concentrate in that area and see how, if anybody see this video, can react to it or make him see it or his followers see it. And I saw another clip again where he was trying to tell Peter, when Peter was coming from behind him and doing some high and hand signals, and then Peter was talking to him not to stay behind him. There was something that I couldn't hear properly. I'm going to go. So these are the things I want to correct. Okay, these are the things, the negative I want to correct, and I'm going to say it in this video, and in my next video is going to be the full reaction to the broadcast. And I'm also going to react to Adeleke's visit to the White House, to the Aso Rock, and then the videos going to Wike. I'm also going to drop a reaction to that. Now let me concentrate on Obi's broadcast. I'm going to concentrate on the management. And I've said this before in one of my videos. There is a specific area Peter Obi is making some mistakes, or his handlers. I don't know if Peter Obi have a handler, people who manage him. You see, when you are running for the office of the presidency, you have to get a manager, people who are going to manage your presidency, manage the race for you. You're going to get experienced hand, those who are well polished in Nigerian politics, national politics, to organize your presidential race in terms of your campaign, your speeches, your traveling, everything. But there's in that video, it's like Peter Obi doesn't have a handler, or he doesn't have a handler, those who manage his image, his presidency. I don't know if you guys know what it means to run for the office of the presidency. When you want to run for the office of the presidency, your image have to be polished. When we talk about the image, Peter Obi has an image already. He's well known, but he need more polishing. The way you talk, okay, in terms of your expressions, the way you dress, even the way you walk, all this in iconograph. What you're going to say in the public and what you're not going to say in the public. There are people before, when you have a handlers, you don't just react when news that comes. There are people who are camping for news, whatever that is going in all over the nations. And then when there's anything pertaining to the campaign or your campaign or the national, they send it to your campaign manager to prepare a reaction for you before you say it. The manager is going to advise you on what to say and what not to say. Let me start from the presentation of that broadcast. If you see in the beginning, if you've seen in the beginning, he was trying to tell everybody to move. He doesn't want anybody to be behind him. That is one failure. That's why I say you need handlers. Peter Obi shouldn't be the one handling his broadcast, arranging his broadcast, okay, his appearance. He shouldn't be the one. He should be acting as presidency in waiting. Before you come out to give that speech, the stage has been set. Everybody knows where their positions are, the camera are, the distance from the podium where you're going to make a speech, who is going to be next to you, or if everything is choreographed behind the scene, and then you walk out. When everybody has been seated, the camera is already gone, then you walk out and walk straight to the podium where you're going to give the speech. Then if you watch that particular clip, you could see that he was even telling, I don't want anybody behind me, that is wrong. This thing is beamed all over the world. Look at, we tend to copy America and other countries. Do you see Trump trying to control people? No, before he steps out, everybody knows their position, where they're going to stand, who's going to be behind him, where the position of the podium, okay, how he's going to walk in. Everything is choreographed. Your steps are going to change. Okay, so that's what I say. You need handlers. People are going to polish you. Your dressing also has everything is choreographed because people want. You see, the international world is watching you to see and say, "Oh yeah, this guy is presidential." The appearance speaks first to say, "You know what? He is presidential." So if you look at the first mistakes, he was trying to control who's going to be behind him. He shouldn't be so. He shouldn't be doing that. The handlers, if he has a handlers, a campaign manager, a campaign team, the rules have been set that nobody should be behind the podium. Before they even step out, they have laid down the rules. Nobody should be behind the podium. All the cameras have been set. Everybody have taken their seat. So when Peter Obi is walking out, the camera is watching him walking out straight from the door to the podium. Nobody, no any side attraction. The paper for the speech is already in the podium. And then you go straight, greet everybody, follow all the protocols, and deliver your speech. You are not worried about who's going to be behind you because that has been taken care of by your campaign team, your handlers. That is one fault. Peter Obi needs to correct his image, needs to correct his campaign movement. That is one. Secondly, whoever that is drafting that speech for him, if you have a campaign team or a campaign manager, must know how eloquency you are. They will know, your campaign manager will know how eloquently you are, how oratory you are in order to organize your speech. Now, your campaign manager will know you, study to know your weakness and work with you to correct those weaknesses so that people are not going to notice it. I'm 1,000 miles away. Peter Obi is a stammerer. There are different levels of stammering. It's not like those who stammer. He's a stammerer. He conjures his word. Even though he can make sense of what he's trying to say, you could see that sometimes his sentences are cut short, that you can understand what he's trying to say. Okay? Now, if you are drafting that speech, okay, There are ways you arrange that speech on a page. Each page should not have more than 10 lines. Okay, so that the spacing, maybe in a page, there'll be 5 lines of sentence. You have to space it to give him, and bold it, to give him time when he's reading the speech. Okay, because when you put the speeches closely, by the time he finishes the first sentence and comes to the first sentence, he's already run out of breath. Then he's going to stop, take a break, and continue again, or try to know what is following next. When you are preparing a speech, you're going to make it bold, like in a page, in a full page. It has to have, for instance, okay, let's assume this is a page. You are preparing a speech for him. You shouldn't make it so, you see how this one is arranged? No. In this page, we're supposed to say, okay, 5 lines, 1 line here, 1 line here, 1 line, and make it bold and space it. So by the time he finishes the first sentence to go to the next sentence, he has already seen it. Like if I'm reading a speech now, in a sentence, on a line, okay, maybe in a first line, there are about 10 lines. By the time I finish the first sentence, I already know what is coming up next because I can see it is bold. I can see it's bold, so that I don't have any break. I'll read it continuously. But when it is so tiny this way, by the time he finishes this, and then the spacing is not much. The spacing is, they're all close together. So by the time he finishes this and the next one is coming, then he's going to be looking at, then he's going to bring it to understand what that means or what the spelling means. And that's if you watch that speech, when he's reading the speech, he stops to look at the word properly and then pronounce it. So the person that prepared that speech did not do due diligence. You have to get those who knows how to write speech, who knows how to run campaign. Okay, I don't know whether he's the one that drafted that speech, but if you have a speech writer, okay, there are ways. Like Donald Trump, in his speech, Donald Trump, you guys should go and Google it. In his speech, in his full page, it's only 5 lines. In this page like this, it's going to have 5 lines, and then go to the next page. Okay, so that, and they make it bold so that he can see it and then read it correctly. Now you have to know the weakness of your president, your candidate. He stammers. So when you are preparing that speech, you don't want to jam all the words together. You're going to space it and make it bold. So by the time you finish the first one, he can see what is coming out next and read it without stopping. But if you watch that speech, there's too much breaking. He stops, he look at the word again correctly, and then try to pronounce it correctly, and they move on. That doesn't look presidential. So I'm not going to blame him on that. You have to understand your candidate, his weakness, and try to address it and work towards his weakness to address that area. He stammers and he doesn't finish his sentences. He doesn't finish it and they jump to another one. So you that knows how he speak have to know how you draft your speech to correct that stammering so that people are not going to notice it. He's not eloquently, there are some people who are eloquently who can just sit here and read something without even stopping. Is Peter Obi intelligent? Yes. Okay, but when in terms of oratory, that is where he's lacking because he has that stammering tendency. The person writing the speech should not cram everything in one page. That's how they write presidential speech. They space it, make it bold, cut it short so that the person reading it will be able to grab the word and then it's going to flow. That is second thing I noticed. There's too much stoppages in that speech. It was not delivered eloquently the way I expected it, even though the content makes senses. I enjoy the content, the way he analyzed, step that when you are delivering it, okay, somebody's going to say, this man that is reading this and stop and taking a gap. And they say he's a former bank chairman and they say he went to Harvard. Is that, people are going to be wondering, but he say this guy went to Harvard, but look at the way he's reading as like a primary school student. So I don't blame him on that. I blame the person that wrote that speech. And I don't know whether he's the one writing the speech. If not, if he's the one, he has to get a handler. There's reasons why even Donald Trump wants to campaign today, start a campaign. He has to go and hire a campaign team and pay them to manage his candidacy. You don't do it by yourself because there are going to be a lot of mistakes. Like the first one, you could see him directly. I don't want anybody behind my back. You shouldn't be doing that. If you have a campaign team, before you come out, even you're coming out, you see, they stage this thing. You guys should go and watch Obama and the one that the Obama and then the last lady that contested with Donald Trump, the former vice president of the lady that was the vice president of Biden. You could see before he come out, you could see how they arrange it. You could see when he's coming out for a debate to give a speech. You see the way the way they arrange the steps and the way she moves. The steps are calculated. You have to come out beaming that presidential. Show yourself that people look at you and say, "Yeah, this is presidential." I can see him sitting in that seat and be presidential. When you see a piece of you walking out, he just walk out, and then go. No, that is not how it's been done. Your walking to the podium is choreographed. The way you're going to take your steps, the way you're going to come out assuming confidence. Because as soon as you're walking out, the camera is beaming in your face. The way you walk to the podium, and they look at how confident you are to stand there to give that speech. The content of that speech is excellent, but the delivering is poor because he has the tendency of stammering, and the person that wrote that speech did not take those things into cognizance. If he doesn't have a handler, he needs to get a handler, a campaign team. Second thing. The third thing, when I was watching him read that speech, please, you could see him, his face was on the podium. He's reading it. And I said, who wrote that speech? These days, there's going to be a teleprompter, teleprompter in front. Nobody go, if you watch him throughout the speech, was looking down. That is not presidential. Throughout that speech, he was looking down, reading paper. And I said, what the hell is going on here? That's why I said the delivering of that speech is poor. I'm going to tell you that I'm just talking about negative. Okay? Go and see how others deliver speech. You have to have three. One on the right, one on the left, and one on the middle. There's going to be a teleprompter. Everything is said. So he starts in there. He's reading. When he turns in there, because the camera, nobody, if you that is watching from the TV, they think that he's watching you, but he's watching it. You can't see that teleprompter. He's the only person to see it. So he's reading it. He can move his head from right to the middle to the left and then come back again. He moves this way and move this way. You have to be moving. You have to make an eye contact with the camera, with the public watching you. But if you watch at Pido, of course, reading from, these are the things that in 1900, the way we read speech in 1900, when there's no social media, you go to the podium, you are reading line by line without raising your leg up. That is poor deliverance. That is poor deliverance. If you are running for the presidency, you're going to be polished. You're going to bring yourself. That's why people will go and hire grooms to groom them. Their dressing change. Not the same clothes you wear today, you're going to wear tomorrow. You're going to put, your image. You are seeking for the highest office in that seat. You're on the media 24 hours. People are watching you. What the Western world are watching. When they see you walking around, they look at you. They want to see how you walk, how you talk, how you handle the media. That add more substance to your candidacy. Most foreign leaders will say, you know what? Even if they have bias against you, they say, no, I like to work with him. He has that armor. He has that confidence. You could see it exuding that confidence. He communicates. Okay? So, we cannot just want to give a speech and he just walk out from the house and they back, the way he was walking back and go, no, please. And tomorrow, the next thing, you guys are going to use America to give an example or Canada to use an example. If you are going to use America to give an example, then try to elevate yourself to that standard. You are seeking for the highest office of the nation. Okay? You got to be polished. I'm not saying he's intelligent, he's wise, but in terms of presentation or delivery of that speech is poor. I mark it 0. He's reading the speech, his eye is on. And I'll say, is there no teleprompter? There are supposed to be 3 teleprompter. one on the right, one on the left, one. So everything is typed. So he's going to be reading. He's going to be reading from, so he can be moving this way. He read from this one. He comes here. He continue from where he stopped here, and then he continue. So you are facing the audience. You are not reading here. So once in a while, you can look down, but your teleprompter is in front of you. You can see that speech is already there. You can see it and read it clearly because you can see it. Because people are watching your focus and eye contact with the camera, with the public. But if you watch that interview, that broadcast, he was most of the time, that is wrong. I've mentioned 3 things now. The first one was when he was direct, I don't want anybody behind my back. You shouldn't be doing that. If you have a campaign team or handlers, before you come out to give that speech, behind the scene, everything has been arranged. Who's going to be where? Who's going to be standing where the cameras are going to be standing? That behind the scene, instruction have been given. We don't want nobody behind him. Stay in the front or out of view of the camera. So when he walks out, he wouldn't be saying, I don't want anybody. He just walks out and people are already, no, he shouldn't be doing that. It's like he's controlling the crowd. The handler's supposed to be doing that job for him. And secondly, in terms of oratory, okay, you could see that I expect a flow of speech. You are reading speech, you don't, once in a while you can stop and take a break. But because most of that time he's stopping to try to find out, pronounce it properly, or to understand what was reading for him, because the person who wrote that speech did not do it correctly. That's where they write presidential speech or important personality speech. It's not the way we write ordinary speech. When you're writing somebody like a presidential speech, you don't write in this page to have only 5 lines. Okay? Bold, space it, and go to the next page. He continue. It makes him reading that thing comfortably and easily. In addition that he stammers. So if you're a handler or a campaign manager, you should know that your candidate stammers. So I'm going to arrange this speech in such a way that they won't notice him stopping too much time to try to understand the words or to pronounce it properly. Okay, so the person who wrote the speech did a poor job. Then the third one is he's reading, and most of the time he's looking down. And I say, we're supposed to have teleprompter in 3 teleprompter, one on the right, one in the middle, one on the left. The same speech is already there. So when he stands on the podium, so he starts from the right, he'll be reading, okay, and he goes to the middle, he goes to the left and be reading. The camera, people behind the camera, or if people watching from home will think that they are looking at him, they are looking those, but nobody knows that there's a camera, there's something he's reading. Instead of you putting your head down there this way, you read from the teleprompter. Anytime he's going for a speech, he's traveling, there's people who carry those things along. So if he's going to go to Kaduna and give a speech, he moves those equipment. Before the speech, they set it up. They have people who typed everything into it, set it up, how he's going to roll everything, and then before he presents it. Then the next thing again, if you're watching that speech, if you guys watching that speech, you could see from that speech there was no rehearsal. They just write that speech for him and then he goes. It doesn't matter how high, even a professor want to go and give a speech, they rehearse. Even a professor, when he finish writing the speech, they go in their private room, sit down there and rehearse that speech. So they know where to correct those mistakes. So when, pretend you are giving a speech. Because you're going to master the words of those speech. So if you watch from that speech, you can see that there was no rehearsal. Because some of the words there, because if you have rehearsed that speech 1 or 2 or 3 times, you'll be conversant with some of the words, with some of the sentences in that speech, or some of the words in that speech, and know how to pronounce it effectively without stopping. So if you watch that speech, there was no rehearsal. So that's the first time he's seen that speech. So the way you read speech behind in your room is different when you are facing a media. When you are facing a media, there's a different tension that accompanies it. Not everybody can face a media camera and deliver a speech. You might go inside your room and be fantastic, but when you are facing a camera, it's a different ballgame. And that is why you have to rehearse. If you have a campaign manager or a handler, they write a speech for you, they say, Mr. President or Mr. Sir, this is your speech. We need to. I need about an hour or 2 hours of your time. We need to rehearse this speech, and they prepare a mock podium in the room, and they give the speech. People are going to be there listening. You read it. If there's where you make mistakes, they correct you. They keep until you master it. It's okay. Now you are good. So when you go in there, because something that you have been practicing, you be conversant with the words. You know when to stop, when to slow, and when to correct your mistakes. But if you watch that speech, it's like that's the first time. And then the other thing again I noticed on that broadcast, when he started the sentence, he said, fellow compatriot. That is wrong. When he started with this, the first sentence, he said, fellow compatriot. That is wrong. You are addressing the nation to start your campaign. We are not compatriots, we are Nigerians. When you come out to give that first speech, fellow Nigerians has more appealing, inviting, and an aroma of suiting when you come to a national broker and say, fellow Nigerians, not fellow compatriot. That compatriot, no. We are not compatriot. Nigerians are not we are fellow Nigerians. There are times you use compatriot. Okay? We are not in a state of war that we are joining hand to defend ourselves. We are not in a state of war. We are not in a state of protest. So if you address us as compatriot, we are not fighting yet. We are not in a war. You are seeking an election of the office of the presidency, and you are seeking for the vote of the Nigerians. The first sentence will be, fellow Nigerians, we are all Nigerians, regardless of your tribe, religion, and ethnicity. Compatriot is wrong. Who does it? You can't start a speech by using compatriot. Who are the compatriot? We are address us in the speech. Address the nation as Nigerians. Nigerians covers every entirety of every citizens of that particular country, because you are now coming to beg to announce that you are seeking for the office of the presidency, and then you are pleading to say, please, I need your vote. I find it when I hear that compatriot, I find it a kind of, I said no. I said it's wrong. You can't see Donald Trump want to address Americans in the national TV, say fellow compatriot. No, you say fellow Americans. Fellow Americans. You don't use compatriot. Yes, that's what I say. Somebody or be need to get handler who's going to polish his image, the way he walks, the way he talks. I don't say he talks arrogantly. No, you have to talk like, what leaders are watching. Remember, you are in Nigeria here seeking for office. There are world leaders paying attention to this election. All the let me just talk about the Africa ECOWAS or the African Union or African continent. They'll say, oh, this man has been preaching that he's a Messiah. He's a Messiah. There are a lot of African countries who are praying to, if God can send them somebody that could be in their nation. But most of their nation are being governed by all these corrupt leaders. Some of them are in their 90s. They don't want to leave power. So when they hear that people want to give speech, all of them run to the television. Even those world leaders want to see how you present yourself to the media. Image is very important when you are seeking the office, the highest office in the land. Image, because world leaders, company executives are watching you to see how you present yourself to the media. They even weigh the way you walk. When you want to go and give a speech, don't just walk out from your house and wherever and they're walking to the camera. No, you're going to change your step. Your steps differ. You don't walk too fast. you take your steps are calculated, gentle steps that exhibit confidence. Okay, and you approach, guys. You guys have to. You see, let me tell you guys, in North America here, and a president is going to give it, or the prime minister is going to give a speech. He doesn't just walk out in here. From the way they, you see, from where he's going to walk out from, he's been choosing. The angle the camera is going to take is been choosing. His steps have been, even the clothes he's going to wear, he's choosing. The makeup, because that is what the world is watching. So he need polishing. Where he's not running for a local government chairman that he can just come out anyhow and go to the camera. I need to see my president, waiting president, Peter Obi, to exhibit that confidence. I want to see him walking majestically, slow down his pace when he's going to give a speech or entertain an interview. You act like people want to see you start acting at it. They want to see you act like it. That attract what leaders towards your side. So that's how I'm going to address the negatives on that area. But in terms of the content of the speech, superb. Whatever that is in that content is superb, but the delivery is what is wrong. It's poor. It was not planned. It was just delivered anyhow. The coming out from the house was anyhow. Him controlling the crowd was anyhow. Him reading from the Boeing, he said, that doesn't exhibit confidence. Let's do it properly. Anytime he's going to give a speech, get a teleprompter, 3, one on the right, one in the middle. Those things, put it there. He's standing in the podium there. He looks at those things and read them, and then before he comes out, rehearse that speech number of times. Sit him down and rehearse that speech, so that he get conversant with that speech. So when he comes out there, he wouldn't be struggling to pronounce a sentence or when to give a gap or when to stop. All right, and then his dressing also have to come into question. Peter Obi have to be changing wardrobe. I don't want to see Peter Obi every time. Today we're seeing with a black t-shirt, black, and tomorrow I see with another black. Tomorrow, no, he have to change his wardrobe. His shoe have to change. I know he said he doesn't want to spend, but listen. When you are going to seek for office or the presidency, forget about all these things. There are areas I can agree with you, okay? But when it comes to the presidency, you got to dress properly to fit that office. Okay, the respect is to the office, not to you as a personality. I don't want to see him with this shirt tomorrow. I see him with another same shirt again. It doesn't. People say this guy doesn't. Even if we know you are fiscal discipline in terms of finance, but at least this is the office of the presidency. You're going to be changing. Okay, you're going to be changing clothes. Okay, let's assume. Is he telling me that if he become the president, he win the election, that he'll be wearing one cloth in that seat every day? No. A president, that one you have to, if he doesn't like to wear clothes, when you get to that office, you're going to be changing your wardrobe. The same shoe you wear today is not going to be the same shoe you wear tomorrow. It might not be expensive, but it comes with the office. I don't want to see my president in that seat with a t-shirt and they say, oh, I'm trying to save 10 naira for. No. Give that office a respect that it deserves. Okay, so that is a few negatives that I saw. I said I'm going to address. Let him get a handler. You need to get a handler, okay, and then try to address those areas that I just mentioned. And then I'm going to just stop here. Stay tuned. In my next video, I'm going to give a full reaction to that particular, presentation in my next video. Okay, I'm going to react to that particular video. So I said, let me let you guys know on this. So I hope, please, I want to read your comments, and also let me hear from you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.